Hi, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join me for this very special online presentation. My name is Sheila Caldwell, and I am the president and founder of the Heart to Heart Foundation. So it's glad to see you. And what we're going to do today is actually present an online presentation of our special workshop breakout session called 5 Steps to a Healthier Heart. So we're going to try to make it very simple for you today and give you some information that can help you live heart healthier. So with that, we are going to get started. Before we do, just a couple of reminders. Any information provided during this presentation is for information and educational purposes only. If you have any specific questions about your health, especially your heart health, please talk to your healthcare provider. This information is not a substitute for medical advice or care. So talk to your doctor or your healthcare provider. And please, if you think you're having any symptoms that could be related to your heart, shortness of breath, sudden dizziness, unexplainable fatigue, pain between your shoulder blades, your jaw, heaviness in your arms, pain or pressure in your chest. If you're having any of those symptoms, please stop the webinar and call 911 now and get emergency medical help, okay? We want to take care of you. So, with that, let's get started. One of the things I want you to keep in mind as we talk today is you are never too young or too old to make positive lifestyle choices for your heart health. We know that heart disease actually begins in childhood, so it's really important that we start life out right, but a lot of us didn't, right? And so it's really important for us to remember that regardless of our age, it's never too late. It's also never too early to begin. So if you are a senior adult, don't despair. You can start making those changes today. If you have children or grandchildren, it's a perfect time to start making those healthy lifestyle choices to help protect your heart. Here in the United States, over 17 million women and men have the most common form of heart disease. There are several forms of heart disease, but the one we're going to talk about today is the one that is actually preventable. So think about that for a second. We have over 17 million Americans who are suffering from a disease that is largely preventable. That means we have a little bit of work to do, right? Here in the state of South Carolina, that comes to over 300,000 South Carolinians who have this most common form of coronary heart disease, which is the atherosclerosis, the plaque in the arteries that we've all heard about. That is the most common form of heart disease. It's also the most preventable form of heart disease, so that gives us some hope. Most of us, sadly, don't even know that we have heart disease until we have a cardiac event, or worse, our family finds out after we're gone. How many times have you maybe gone to a funeral or heard about someone in your family or someone in your town who you thought looked healthy? Maybe they were in their 40s and everybody says, wow, but she was thin and she looked healthy, or he, ran a marathon. And you would have no idea that they had the silent killer all along and didn't know that they had heart disease until it was too late. Think about this for a second. Every year in our country, we do about 34 million mammograms. We do probably at least 14 million colonoscopies. We do those things because we know that early detection saves lives, right? Yet when it comes to our heart health, we don't treat it the same way. And that's something that at the Heart to Heart Foundation, we work every day to change, because we don't want people to find out that they have this disease, especially this preventable disease, until it's almost too late. But that's something that we really want to change. So let's take a quick look at heart disease. If you are a woman watching this webinar today, there's a really good chance you already have at least one risk factor for heart disease. That's true of the entire country. I know whenever I go to speak for a group of women, when I walk out on stage and I grab the microphone and I look out at the audience, I already know that most of the women in that audience have at least one risk factor for heart disease. Here's something that may surprise you. Did you know that most seniors in high school already have at least one risk factor for heart disease? We're going to talk about what those are. So perhaps during this program, you'll discover, if you don't already know, what your risk factors are and what you can do about them. 64% of women who die suddenly from a cardiac event didn't even report any previous symptoms. That's true of about half of the men that we lose. That's a big number, because every year we're losing over 600,000 women and men just in the US to heart disease. If you took all of the cancers, lung cancer, breast cancer, brain cancer, colon cancer, if you combine them all, we still lose more people to heart disease every year than to all of the cancers combined. And again, keep in mind, we're talking about a disease that is largely preventable. This is the good news that I want you to focus on today, is that about 80% of the risk factors that lead to heart disease can be prevented or managed. There are some recent studies that showed that through prevention, early detection, early diagnosis, and early intervention, about half of those 600,000 plus people who die every year from heart disease could be saved. They didn't have to die. That's something that each of us can do something about. So if we can prevent or manage those risk factors, that gives us hope. That means that you and I have the power to win the fight against our number one killer. And it starts with each one of us, because honestly, nobody can do anything about our health but us. It starts with us. And we're going to start with step number one. Step number one toward a healthier heart is to know your risk. This is a personal disease. This is something that you need to do for you. And we start out by knowing your numbers through a very basic heart health screening. It might be a finger prick, it might be a blood draw, where they actually take a look at your cholesterol. We take a look at your blood glucose, your blood pressure. We also look at your BMI, your body mass index, and your waist circumference. So ladies, if your waist is over 35 inches, gentlemen, if your waist is over 40 inches, that's a risk factor for you. We also look at other risk factors that might contribute to heart disease. And through that, we can give you an assessment about where you are and what you need to work on. Remember again that 80% of the risk factors that lead to heart disease can be prevented or managed, and that is within your control. So let's talk about the risk factors that we cannot change. We couldn't do anything about these if we wanted to. And the first one is family history. Now, when we're talking about family history, here's what we mean. If your father or brother had a cardiac event before the age of 55, that puts you at higher risk. If your mother or sister before the age of 65, that puts you at higher risk. Why do we look at those family members? Because you share the same DNA, right? Exactly. Now, I know that there may be grandparents or aunts or cousins who have had cardiac event in your family, and we can look at that extended family history. But the fact of that nearness of those relatives, as well as their age, does play a factor in your risk for heart disease. Now, we also have a talk about what was their lifestyle like. What kind of foods did they eat? Did they exercise? Did they smoke? Did they have diabetes? Because that may have impacted their heart health, but that doesn't necessarily mean it is your future. So even though you have that in your family history, that's not a foregone conclusion. So keep that in mind. Your gender. Since 1983, more women than men have died from heart disease. Now, men develop heart disease earlier, usually by the time they're about 45 years of age, and we see more heart attacks in men, but more women actually die from heart attacks than men. So your gender plays a factor. Your race or ethnicity, if you are of American Indian, Native American, Asian, Hispanic, African American descent, you are at higher risk for the risk factors leading to heart disease. And of course, your age. As I said, men typically begin developing heart disease. We see it in men by age 45 and women by age 55. That has to do with our hormonal changes in our body as well. But what we are seeing today, which is very sad, is that we're seeing heart disease and heart attacks and strokes in younger and younger adults. I work very closely with a lot of cardiologists and cardiac care nurses, and it's not unusual for me to get a telephone call that they have admitted someone who's had a heart attack in their 20s. And it's unfortunate, and it's something that we really need to change. Now, those are the risk factors we can't change. We can't do anything about those. Those are in our DNA. That is who we are. But this is that 80% that I mentioned that we have control over, our blood pressure. Did you know that blood pressure medication is the #1 prescribed medication in this country? And that studies show that through those good lifestyle choices, basically eating right and exercising, about 90% of the people that are on blood pressure medication could come off of it. That's a huge number. But we can control that. We can prevent that. High cholesterol, diabetes and pre-diabetes, the sedentary lifestyle. Sitting is the new smoking. And the only person that can do anything about sitting all day is us. Smoking and even secondhand smoke. Your weight, maintaining a healthy weight is very important. Of course, stress, and with stress we need to include anxiety, depression, and the inability to sleep. I didn't know until after my heart attack at the age of 50 that the inability to sleep was a symptom in women of possible heart disease. I had no idea. I know now. The second step toward a healthier heart is to feed your heart. And this is all you got to do. I'm going to tell you. It is really this simple. Just eat real food. Eat food that nourishes your body. Do you know how many children we have in this country who are considered overweight and obese, and they are also malnourished? Is that not a frightening thought? But this is what it comes down to, is eating real food. Now, everybody knows what this is. We have our youngest grandchild, we have 11 grandchildren. Our youngest grandchild is 2. And even he knows what this is because we play a little game at the traffic light. We know that red means stop and yellow means slow down. It doesn't mean, hit the gas and go faster, despite what my teenage grandchildren say. And we also know that green means go. So the easiest way I have of teaching you how to eat healthy is through this traffic light. So let's talk about red light foods. What do you think some red light foods might be? We know that they are usually high in man-made fats. They're low in protein and fiber, and folks, as we get older, we need that protein and fiber. They are highly processed. They have high fructose corn syrup, hydrogenated oils, artificial flavors, colors, and chemical preservatives, and they lead to inflammation, which, makes us age faster. We're talking about those convenience foods, packaged foods, fast foods. Those foods do not nourish your body. So here's an easy way. If it comes in a box, a bag, or a bottle, you need to flip that around and you need to read that label, but read below where it tells you how much sugar or sodium or carbohydrates is in it. Look at the ingredients. If it has more than 10 ingredients and you can't pronounce them, leave it on the shelf. It is not real food. The tastes aren't real, the flavors aren't real, the colors aren't real. It is not going to nourish your body. So avoid those foods. Now, every now and then, it's okay to have okay to have a treat, because things like, hot dogs, hamburgers, pizza. Um, you know, when I was growing up, we didn't have fast food restaurants everywhere, and if we ate out, it was considered a treat. It wasn't something that we did every day. But now we see the results of having a diet that consists of a lot of fast foods and processed foods and convenience foods, because that's contributing to a lot of our health issues. So yellow light foods, those are foods that they're going to be part of our diet. They do have vitamins and minerals and other nutrients. They may have more fat or sugar than the green light foods. Things like whole grain bread, pasta, yogurts, nuts, low-fat cheese, lean meats, and fish. Those are all things that can be part of a healthy diet in moderation. So make sure you're combining your yellow light foods with a lot of the green light foods, which I bet you can guess what those are. Those are typically the foods that we're going to find in nature. They grow on a farm. We're talking fruits and veggies. So imagine your plate, not a big old 12-inch plate, but a 9-inch plate, because portion size, about the size of the palm of your hand. Just remember that is an easy portion size, because portion sizes do matter as well. But as far as the green light foods, go crazy. Eat as many of those as you want every single day. Those are great for you. So imagine your plate. About half of your plate is going to be filled with these fruits and veggies. They can be fresh, they can be frozen. If your budget demands that you use more canned foods to stretch your money, that's okay. Just make sure you choose the low sodium options, and if you don't have those, rinse your veggies before you cook them. For your canned fruits, get them without the added sugar and the natural syrup. There are ways to do that, but get those fruits and veggies. I don't care how you get them, just get them. Half of your plate should be fruits and veggies. A quarter of your plate should be that protein, whether it is lean meats, fish. You can also do other things that can give you the protein, like beans, lentils, portobello mushrooms, quinoa. There's ways to get your protein there. And your whole grains is the other fourth of your plate. So look for those things and make sure that it says whole grain, but stay away from things like white rice, white bread, a lot of white potatoes, because those are not going to nourish your body. And really look at eating the rainbow, very colorful. Now, this is what a lot of us are used to, and this is what a lot of our kids are used to. And we call this the SAD diet. The SAD diet, and that stands for the Standard American Diet. You want to know why we have so much diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, obesity in our country? You're looking at it right there. It's what we decide to put into our body and do for our body that matters. So eating the right foods and moving our feet. We've got to get moving. Eating right is the first step, but you have to exercise. Did you know that exercise can actually unlock your body's own medicine cabinet? Your body has the ability to heal itself, but it needs the exercise to do that. So you got to get up and get moving. I remember when, after my heart attack, I was in cardiac rehabilitation. Now, before my heart attack, I went through about 18 months of some pretty severe health issues, the biggest of which was chronic fatigue. And exercise for me was very, very difficult. I was dealing with a lot of inflammation in my body, and I didn't know the source of that or how to deal with that. The inflammation had caused arthritis to start and fibromyalgia, and the fatigue was horrible. So exercise for me was something that I knew I needed to do, but physically, I didn't have the strength. So after I had the heart attack and we began working on the issues that had caused those underlying problems rather, trying to get back into exercise was going to be a real challenge for me. And the exercise physiologist sat me down one day and she said, "Sheila, do you skip your medications?" And I thought, oh my gosh, no, I just survived a heart attack at the age of 50. I am taking all 8 of those pills because at that time I was on 8 different medications. Now I'm just on 3. So that's a big move in about 8 years. So with that, she says, with your medication, you wouldn't dream of skipping your medication. And I said, absolutely not. And she said, then think of exercise as medicine, because that's exactly what it is. And with that exercise, with that medication, okay, this prescription, it can actually prevent about 40 different diseases, including heart disease and several forms of cancer. Did you know that? So if you haven't exercised in a while, talk to your doctor before you begin a new program, but it can be something as simple as just walking. Taking a 10 to 15 minute walk after you eat can help level your blood glucose off. So if you are having trouble with pre-diabetes or diabetes, that walking is really going to be beneficial, but everybody needs to get moving. I like to dance. So the best form of exercise is actually the exercise you'll do. Find something you like to do. Change it up a little bit. And as we get older, we need that cardio. We need stretching. We also need the stretching, and we need the strength training. So get some bands, get some light dumbbells, and just change it up every day and find out what you like to do and get moving. So number 4, and for that I am going to come back on camera for just a minute, and let me move my little mouse over here. So taking some breaths. We all have stress in our life, and all of us have different ways of dealing with it, but it's very important that we remember when we're under that stress how we can handle it. And sometimes you're in situations where you might not be able to leave the room, and you have to deal with it then. A lot of my stress actually happens in traffic. Yeah. And so finding a way to breathe. And so recently I learned this technique. So here is a breathing technique that I do on a frequent basis. And what I do when I do this is I actually try to go to my happy place. Now, your happy place may be different than mine. For some people, their happy place may be someplace from their childhood. Maybe it was your grandparents' farm. Maybe it is in the mountains. Maybe it's at the beach looking at the ocean. But wherever your happy place is, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to visualize your happy place. You got it? Then what I want you to do is to breathe in through your mouth for 4 counts. Then we are going to hold our breath for 7 counts, and I want you to really fill up those lungs. Use your diaphragm. We're going to hold that breath for 7 counts, and then we're going to blow out through our mouth for 8. Okay? All right. So everybody's got their eyes closed. You are at your happy place. All right. Now, breathe in with me for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now hold it for 7. And blow out for 8. Okay, you can do that like 3 times in a row. I wouldn't do it more than 3 because it can make you a little lightheaded. But the next time that you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling stressed and you're feeling anxiety, try that exercise no matter where you are. And you can do it all day if you have to, if you're having one of those days. But do that For some of us, we meditate. For some of us, we pray. But find the ways that helps you center yourself and do this for yourself. We need we need to breathe. We need that oxygen in our bodies. So remember that technique the next time you start feeling stressed out. Okay, so moving along, number 5, I should not have to say it, but we still know that there is a percentage of people here in our state and across the country that are still smoking. So what we want you to do is to kick the habit, because smoking is the most preventable cause of early death in this country. Secondhand smoke also puts you at higher risk for heart attack and stroke. So that is a webinar for a different day that we offer, but we do have a smoking cessation program that we can help you stop smoking. But that is one of the main things that you can do to protect your heart health. Did you know that after you stop smoking, even for just 1 year, you cut your risk in half for a heart attack? That's just how quickly it can work. So next steps, I want you to visit our website, the hearttoheartfoundation.org. You can see that down in the chat box. So the hearttoheartfoundation.org, visit us there. We have lots of great free educational resources and links to other videos that we have done. We've tried to put online a lot of the resources that we provide when we're doing programs in person. So you can download those and use them. Also, I want to make sure you know your numbers. So the first opportunity, if you haven't already this year, is get your basic heart health screening done. You need to know your numbers. And then start with small changes. Sometimes if we try to change things too fast, we get burned out by it, or we get frustrated, it's too much for us, and we fail and we give up. But I want you to start with just small changes. Walk 10 minutes, and then in a couple of weeks, add 10 more minutes to that. Start by adding more fruits and veggies to your plate. If you go out to eat, instead of getting fries, ask for a side salad. So make little small changes and give yourself permission that if one day you fail, that's okay. Start again tomorrow. Then another thing I want you to do is to get your friends and family involved. Start with you, but also share this with them and get your family involved in making these changes. And then finally, if you are over 40 years of age, I want you to pay special attention to this next part. Go to our website, testnotguess.org. There's a quiz that you can take, and we can send you some information to let you know if you're a good candidate for an advanced screening called a coronary artery calcium scan. I'm going to walk this through for you very, very quickly. But this particular screening is one of the most advanced methods available today to help detect heart disease at its earliest stages. It takes 10 minutes. It is non-invasive. You don't even have to undress for it. You lie on a table, and in 10 minutes, they have taken an image, a CT scan of your heart. And what they're looking for in your heart is signs of calcified plaque. Based on your score, will determine what your risk is over the next 5 to 10 years for a heart attack. The good news is, even if you have a higher score, through early detection, taking the preventative measures, might possibly include medication, we can help prevent heart attacks, and we can help prevent premature death through this scan. So again, go to testnotguess.org and then talk to your doctor about ordering this scan. It is not covered by insurance yet, but you can pay for it with a health savings account. Typically, it costs about $100. It is the best $100 you will spend. The scan that you're looking at on the screen now is actually that of my husband's, and this is the scan that saved his life because he passed the treadmill stress test. His EKG was fine. His numbers on paper were within range. There was nothing there that told us that he had a significant amount of heart disease, but he did. We also have webinars specifically about the coronary artery calcium scan that you can watch. You can also go to our website and watch a film, a documentary called The Widowmaker that'll give you a lot more information. Just remember that if you are having symptoms, women and men do present differently. For women, they typically don't have the discomfort in their chest and the pressure in their chest. Sometimes we have subtle symptoms, and a lot of women, they don't report any. Same thing for the men. So if you believe you are having symptoms of a heart attack, please do not delay. Get help. Call 911 immediately, because every minute counts. That is our presentation for today. Hopefully you learned a few things. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to us and stay in touch. We'd like to thank our companies with heart sponsors that made this presentation possible today. You can visit us online at thehearttoheartfoundation.org. And we are on Facebook. We are very active on Facebook. And we would love to hear from you. So if there's anything that we can do to help you, to provide some free educational resources, find a screening available near you, please let us know and we'll be happy to do that. But thank you again for your time today. And remember, always remember, that the better you love your heart, the longer it can love you back. Thanks. Take care.